Welcome to the last episode of 2023 of the High Performance CEO Show. This episode is a special one, it's a recap on an amazing year interviewing outstanding personalities, outstanding CEOs, successful entrepreneurs. And I'm so grateful for everyone who joined our show as a guest, contributing with their knowledge. I'm so grateful for this outstanding and amazing community we built. We had a growth rate of 747%. People in 55 countries watching or listening our show. And for now, I would like to recap all the episodes with the highest amount of downloads across all of our platforms. So we selected, we extracted a small snippet, and I wish you lots of fun and lots of insights from these conversations. Thanks for being our listener, thanks for being our subscriber, and wish you an amazing 2024. In episode 38, I interviewed Dr. Mitchell Holland, the CEO of Integrated Capital Management. In this episode, he revealed the strategies of successful filmmakers who balance a creative vision and business acumen. We talked about the art of crafting compelling narratives, the financial landscape and funding options for film projects, and the importance of collaborative partnerships with influencers and brand ambassadors. You mentioned production costs are rising, and you have to balance, between creativity and managing the commercial success of this endeavor. So
it's very simple. It's a very simple formula, and it's an investment management philosophy. I don't make a picture, but typically, I'm sorry to say, I don't do it because the story is compelling. I mean, that's part of it, but approaching it as an investment manager, you have to look at what the assets of the film are. So if you think about film like real estate, like if you could sell a house for $200,000 for investment purposes, you're not going to buy it for $1 million. The same thing is true with the film industry. We have a sale value of the assets of the film. And the assets, the most important assets are the people that are attached to that film. Typically name brand actors, directors, cinematographer, even a producer. Usually they bring people with them. And that's the highest value asset. And we know what their films are worth because we know what they've done recently, and we can see how they've done at the box office. We're doing Longlegs with Nicolas Cage. He just did the Pig movie, did very, very well. He approached us to do another small picture with him, low budget, that we think will do just as well. It just has a lot of value. So there's a number of assets that we look at in a picture. They are the talent, tax credits and rebates. So where we shoot, typically that place will give us some type of incentive to shoot a film there. We have things like product placement. We have other values such as there's back-end value. But, the real value of it is what can you sell it for? Like a piece of real estate, right? So we use distributions and sales agents. And distributions and sales agents, they're all over the world. And for many years, I made action pictures. And what we would do is we would sell them to foreign markets, primarily in Asia, because they love action films. And quite frankly, I would have a $5 million budget, and they would offer me $3 million. And guess what we would do? We would make the picture for $2.5 million. We would reverse engineer the budget to how much we could sell the film for. And we're still doing it today. And this is why I don't lose money making films, is because we reverse engineer the budget to what we can sell it for. And that doesn't mean it won't do more, but at least we know we've got the coverage. Typically, we're looking for about, 120% of total budget, but 20% premium, that's our target, so that we know that we're not going to get smashed. And there's no guarantee. I mean, I know some of the studios recently have spent a lot of money producing films and then canceled them before they released them and take a tax write-off. That's obviously something we don't ever want. But so there's not zero risk. So our fund is a pooled fund where we actually do financing on a number of projects. We don't do one film. We don't try to sell a single film. What we try to do is to collect pictures into the fund that have this profile, right? Diversification. Those are, your basic intrinsic value and diversification are the basic fundamentals of investing. Value and diversification.
Revolutionizing healthcare and media influence with Dr. Nancy Gaines-Dillard was a very interesting episode where we talked about integrative medicine, where Dr. Gaines-Dillard explained how she combines conventional and alternative medicine to treat the root causes of diseases and improve the quality of life of her patients. We also talked about the benefits of using natural remedies such as herbs, supplements, and essential oils to support the body's healing process. Dr. Nancy shared her experience of being a media personality and how she uses her platform to educate and inspire people about health and wellness. Starting with your medicine practice, what I learned is you have a bit of different approach to the normal medicine, right? I mean, there's a lot of interesting development going on in this industry. I'm following it a bit because I'm very interested in longevity and improving health before sickness appear, before it's too late. Yeah, because I mean, the traditional approach is more like, hey, you live, then you feel something bit odd. You go to the doctor and they diagnose something and then they treat you. Yeah? The new approach, what I understand, or you also practicing, is more like a approach where you improve your health before you start getting sick. You monitor, you have a certain regimen and a certain protocol you follow in order to extend the healthy life, not only treating symptoms. And I think this is such an important shift in a mindset. And this is what I would love to hear from you. What's your approach? How do you set this up? How do you help your patients?
Yeah, so the name of my medical practices is Dr. Nancy's Integrative Medicine, and I practice traditional primary care medicine, but also holistic wellness integrative medicine. So everything that a primary doctor, family doctor can do, I certainly do that too. However, allowing access and informing individuals on different ways to treat the same disorder, right? So if a person comes in and their blood sugars are elevated and they may be borderline diabetic, there's lifestyle modification, of course, diet and exercise, but then there's natural supplementation that you can take to control your blood sugars. So I live in the natural plant-based arena as well, and I give options, right? Again, the best informed decisions come from a well-informed patient or client. And I also offer IV vitamin drips, stem cell, ozone therapies. I do PRP, platelet-rich plasma. I do some aesthetics as well, and I have my own product line. So based on micronutrient testing and your DNA genomic testing, I can create a supplement that's specific to your deficiencies and drop ship it to you anywhere in the United States at this moment in time. So again, that's right, our world and the way the trend is going is that individuals want to stay on top of their health. So it's preventative care and it's anti-aging, it's restorative health, it's the new buzzword. It's not just anti-aging, but it's reversing the sign of aging. We want to lengthen those telomeres, right, to reverse the sign of aging, not just, stop it in anti. But, we want a 50-year-old to look like a 40-year-old because of all of their health practices that they are taking part in on to be proactive and stay ahead of any disease, free radicals, oxidative stressors, in the way that our lifestyle goes. So I'm here to assist that type of client, right? And it's mindset. And if that person is ready to make those necessary changes to complement their lifestyle, I'm that doctor for them.
How many people did it reach yet? Because, often I think we live in a kind of a bubble, we see our own world, we see, okay, this is so important and we need to treat aging as a disease and we need to change our lifestyle and so on. But I sometimes have the feeling that this is just a very small percentage of the population, that most of the people, they drift through life, they take everything as a precondition, they don't challenge the status quo. Yeah, we as entrepreneurs, we say, no, we don't accept the status quo. We don't accept that we age. We don't accept that we will be sick when we are 60 or 70 and we have the last 10 years of our lives suffering and going from doctor to doctor. I don't accept this, But I believe that, unfortunately, many people, they do, they think, okay, there's no alternative, there's no option, that's just how it's meant to be. But I don't accept that it's meant to be, So there's a lot of education which is needed to be done, right, in this space.
That's exactly right. So if you're a true entrepreneur, you are a disruptor. And to answer your question with regard to that type of lifestyle, plant-based living, living to your highest potential, it really isn't as broad in terms of awareness as I would want it to. It can tend to be to the most affluent, the top individuals, top earners in the world, right? Because of the access and the knowledge that they have. And I want to break that stigma. Although living a healthy lifestyle can also be a little bit expensive, right? But again, it's a mindset. It's you have to understand the basis behind living your best life, because I often say you're going to pay for one of two things: your health or your illness.
Also on the topic of health, we talked with Julian Hayes II, and we talked about an holistic approach to wellness. We discussed the 4 pillars of health, and we discussed how we can optimize each pillar using data, technology, and behavioral science. We talked about the importance of health for CEOs. Julian emphasized how health is the foundation of everything else in life, and how CEOs can benefit from investing in their wellness. He also shared some tips and resources for CEOs who want to start their health journey. You basically have to be the CEO of your health. You cannot just rely on external circumstances, on external health. And also, I'm reading a lot of books about longevity now. There's this tendency in this industry going away from reactive medicine, so that you go to a doctor when you feel symptoms, to a more preventive medicine, where you already start living a healthier life, already start measuring more your key parameters and take action before sickness appear, and I think this requires a mind shift in the society and also in the health system, because
that's kind of how you get reimbursed and everything is with that. So it's a system issue. So if we're looking out in the future and everything, that's probably going to be the last step when the big system catches on. So this is why each individual has to take their health into their own hands. And we always have that kind of system in our backup. But like you said, there's so many things available now. There's different biomarkers that we can test for that can give us an idea of just how our health is right now. So I'd probably say the one thing you can do to get today, no matter how you feel or anything, is just to go start getting your numbers, start getting your data for where you are right now. And so before you even have to go order any tests or anything, just go get a checkup at your doctor and get anything you can get, just get it. The more data, the better. And the reason why is because even if you're healthy right now, even if you feel great right now, what you're going to have a baseline for where you were at this moment. And as you go into the future now, you're going to be able to compare that. And that's going to give you an idea of how you're living, how things are going, and you're going to be much more precise with different supplement regimens that you're going to do, different exercise regimens and all that. And that's leading to a more efficient and effective person, which then, most importantly, leads to you enjoying your life much more and having time for the things that you actually enjoy, instead of just having your nose in a book reading about health, which you probably don't want to do.
The next I can recommend to everybody who is interested in how the world might develop in the next 20 or 30 years. I interviewed Thomas P.M. Barnett. He's a geopolitical strategist, he's a best-selling author, and a Harvard-trained political scientist. He has worked for leading organizations like the Pentagon, and he just released America's new map, restoring our global leadership in an area of climate change and demographic collapse. He wrote, "Climate change now remaps the planet, tragically rendering much of Middle Earth." And Middle Earth is your definition of
lower latitudes.
Lower latitudes extending 30 degrees north and south of the equator. All the countries...
Where half the world's population lives, and most of the future middle-class growth that we project is going to happen there too.
So we will talk about what impact this has on half of the world's population, that climate change is basically affecting their existence there. This leads into the Through Line 4, basically takes this concept even further.
Through Line 4 is kind of the collision, that global middle class and climate change happening at the same time.
Yeah.
In this, with the effects largely concentrated in one part of the world, that Middle Earth I call 30 degrees in north and south of the equator. And it really speaks to kind of a north-south integrated imperative that's being forced on us, because you're going to see, like we're seeing with plants and animals, humans are starting to migrate towards the poles.
Yes.
In response to temperature changes. We're seeing this with species, animals, plants, viruses, everything's kind of moving towards the pole because, or mostly towards the north, because that's where more land is relative to the south. And you're going to see that with climate refugees more and more. I would argue a lot of the flow that we're experiencing in the United States towards our southern border already reflects
Climate change.
refugees.
Yeah.
We're not calling them that. But if you're driven off the land and then driven into the city because you can't farm anymore, because there's drought, because there are hurricanes that destroy your crops and your infrastructure on a regular basis, you may be leaving the capital city because of gang activity, but ultimately what started that journey for you was climate change.
Yeah.
And I would argue a lot of what's going into Europe in terms of migrant flows right now also reflect
Definitely.
climate change.
Yeah.
So if you have that kind of reality, the fourth through line is all about this north-south integrating reality, which can be looked at as a negative thing, kind of a burden, north versus south, or you can look at it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity for north-south integration, for the expansion of unions. I could argue the United States should look at Latin America as a source of potential future states as we grow our union, and on that basis offer kind of economic and political status and protection to states that are otherwise going to be called into question by climate change's increasing impact across that part of the world. We're talking predictions, strong predictions, based on real science, that Middle Earth by mid-century is going to be experiencing a climate reality that's akin to what you experience in the Saharan Desert today, meaning average daily temperatures around 90 degrees, close to 90 degrees, and very minimal rainfall, which doesn't turn it into the Saharan Desert across that vast swath overnight, but it does historically represent a climate niche that most humans flee from. It's too hard. It's too hard to live there. Just like there are not strong states in the Saharan Desert, there are underpopulated areas, ungovernable spaces. I'm talking about a Middle Earth encompassing half the world's humanity. It's going to endure that sort of stress for the next 4 to 5 decades. And on that basis, I think there are strong incentives for northern superpowers to create structures that allow the socialization of that risk south to north. And on that basis, keep as many people in that Middle Earth band as possible in the most resilient way possible, while accommodating a certain flow of northward refugees. Because if you're not doing kind of that first part, the second part's going to get out of control.
Yeah, you will end up with areas with lots of problems, civil wars and terrorism.
Kind of Mad Max dystopia,
95% of all diseases are related to stress. And this is why we have to get our stress in check. We have to understand what it's causing stress. We have to understand its impact on our health and performance. We dove deep into this topic with Jim Poole, the president and CEO of NewCalm, which is a neuroscience company.
To get back to the stress piece, the technology, the food supply, environmental toxins, geopolitical concerns. Geopolitical concerns have plagued humanity since humanity started. There's nothing really different about that. But we were in the second great age of anxiety before COVID. And then COVID, wow, that exacerbated everything. I mean, literally, when we're at our weakest moment as a human species, COVID comes in and says, hey, you think you got it bad?
There's more, yeah.
Check this out. So the stress levels, the anxiety levels, the isolation, the depression, the confusion, the uncertainty has never been more profound. And as a CEO, that's just what we'd call an exogenous variable. We don't control that aspect, but we live with that aspect. We live with inflation. We live with the geopolitical stuff. We live with the global economics of today. We live with, stuff happening in Ukraine that's going to affect the wheat supply. There's a lot of variables that we have no control over. But we have to pay attention to it because it could have a dramatic impact on our business, to whatever business that is.
Yeah.
So the key here, Sebastian, is simple. We have to get our stress in check. That is the key.
We can only control how we react to these
That's it.
stress elements. Yeah.
What's interesting about stress, there's no CEO that I've ever met that didn't have a high intellect.
and a high drive. But the human brain appears to be wholly incapable of understanding intangibles. If I can't see it, touch it, smell it, taste it, hear it, is it real? Now, intuitively, we know stress is real. In the research, we see stress causes 95% of all diseases, but we're never told why. They never connect the dots for us.
And this is a very important number. 95% of all diseases. It's generated by stress, which we can do something against it. That's just the important message.
And what's fascinating is on my death certificate, it's not going to say Mr. Poole died of stress. No, it's deductive reasoning. Mr. Poole died of cardiovascular disease or cancer or irritable bowel syndrome caused by stress. There really needs to be the cause and effect on the death certificate, because if you look at everybody's death certificate for the past 100 years, it's all caused by stress. Now, intuitively, we know that when we're stressed, we're not performing at our best. Our team members know it. Our customers know it. Our supply chain knows it. Our board of directors know it. Our stockholders know it. We think that they don't know it. Isn't that funny? Mm-hmm. We think, I'll fake it till I make it. Everybody knows because we're human. We pick up on energy. We know moods. We know, So when we're stressed as a leader, we're impatient. We're judgmental. We're critical of ourselves and others. We're not thinking clearly. So how does this all work?
I had an amazing time talking with Pat Linnes, the founder of Sullivan and Stanley. And we talked about the future of consulting. We had an amazing conversation. We talked about his vision of how consulting is changing in the 21st century with the rise of boutique services, the awakening during the pandemic, and the redefinition of work-life balance. What are your biggest learnings from this time?
That is a big question, Sebastian. But firstly, thank you. So there's a lot of learnings, really. I think we live in an era where everyone wants to become an entrepreneur, or everyone, wants to potentially run their own business. My overriding biggest learning was you're only ready when you're ready. I didn't get into Sullivan & Stanley because I wanted to become an entrepreneur and I wanted the glory with that, and I wanted to have my name above the doors and all of that kind of stuff, which some people do. I'd learned the trade in the trenches, so my natural skill set is selling, market making, bringing communities together, monetizing those communities, and then linking them to a problem that can be solved and improved. Another big learning is as you get older, you start to realize what your patterns are in working. So I seem to have a 7-year itch. There's so many learnings, right? I think all of the things that I picked up from my career is when you're founding a business, first make your market, then make your sales. Marketing and sales in the morning first before anything else. When you're founding an organization, especially when you're going up against bigger brands, the sort of David versus Goliath energies are really big. So you need that sort of marketing first, getting that position in the market, building the brand, getting the exposure, making your sales whilst, we say this thing, Sullivan & Stanley, that we're sort of building the plane while we're in the sky. And that's, in an organically founded organization, cash flow is oxygen, and marketing is what gets you a position in the market where you can create your own white space within a larger white space. So I think, I'd like to think in years to come, I'd be advising businesses, and, I'm sure I'll have a framework that will come out, upon reflection, but it is first make your market, then make your sales. It is, building a community, an ecosystem around your business of customers, associates, partnerships, alliances, all of those kind of things, and feeding those first, trying to give more into those relationships than taking. And relationships are everything in business. Always play the long game. So again, I was only ready when I was ready, because all of that relationship capital I'd built up over the 20 years. When I landed next, I had so many people going, Pat, I want to sort you out. I want to help you. I really want this to be a success for you. Here's a package of work. Here's an opportunity. So having the network coming to you then when you launch a business because you've served them in the right way for 20 years was huge. So obviously a lot in there, Sebastian, and I could talk a while on winning strategies and, how I grew it from, the first 3 years and then what the middle 3 years, there's lots in there, but I'd say they're the sort of key ones, really. I never was at university or in my early career saying, I'm going to run my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. You know, it was just, there was a glaring opportunity in the market. I knew I could do something to solve it. And I also had that burning platform of, if I don't do it, someone else would. And I'm the sort of individual that one thing I've always said to myself and I say to my children is, just have no regrets. I'd rather do something and then
Exactly.
It didn't work or I had to pivot, rather than sit there later on in life and go, we should do that, you know?
Yeah, the rocket chair test, you know, when you're 80, you're sitting in a rocket chair and then you think, okay, is there anything I regret not doing? Yeah, and that's the point. I mean, we all fail, you know, doing certain things, but trying is the important thing, you know? And if you see an opportunity like you, I mean, go for it, you know, try it, and yeah, if it fail fast and then try again. With Andreas Dietsche, the CEO of iGaming.com, I had a very in-depth discussion about the challenges and benefits of remote work, where he shares how he transitioned his company to a fully remote model during the pandemic and how he overcame the difficulties of communication, collaboration, and culture. We talked about the importance of humble leadership, where Andreas explained why he values humility as a leader and how he fosters a culture of trust, feedback, and learning in his organization.
What I often see is this leadership aspect. When you are in a young company that is growing or in an established one, and this is maybe a word of advice for people who run their company, who are maybe the boss for the first time, have people reporting to them. I think it's this understanding that some people call it the mission, the team, and me. So it's super important that you are clear where you want to go, that you communicate it to everyone, not only the chosen few, and then be humble a little bit, because you are like the coach in a soccer team. You're on the sideline. Your job is to get the team together, make sure they go after the goal on the right direction, but you are not scoring a single goal. And this is something that I feel and hear is often challenging when you are in such a position for the first time, because you move away from really doing things with concrete results to directing and overseeing people. And more often than not, in the evening, you ask yourself, what have I done? And when you grow, is a typical question where new team leads say, is that right? And the answer is yes, your job is to lead a team. And when I was young, somebody told me, if you work too much yourself, you lose the oversight. I know that sounds very mean, but it has a sense of truth in it.
I love your statement, you're not there to score a goal. I mean, it really sums it up. Your role as a leader, you are there to build the ground for your team, you know, to empower them, that they score, and you are the coach.
And also, I think you have to get your team behind you. And your role, especially in a larger organization, is to protect your team. So if something is messed up, if something goes wrong, you cannot finger point at your team. You have to take a deep breath, make 2 steps forward and say, that's me. It's my responsibility. It's my team. After that, you should talk to your team in very small groups. But to the outside, it's you. And I think this will earn you the support of any team in the world.
Jason Kingsley, the co-founder and CEO of Rebellion, a British video game development company, he wrote a book called Leading the Rebellion. And this is a very interesting story about medieval history, about mapping the chivalric codes, different aspects like fidelity, bravery, and wisdom to the modern business world, and how we can use this as a contemporary framework to be successful in today's time. You wrote this book, and you have this code of conduct, yeah, which you sort of translated into the modern business world.
Yes, that's the idea. I was going through the chivalric code of trying to find out where it was written down, and it's been written down in lots of different ways, and different cultures have different sort of thoughts about what it is. It was never really formalized. There was never a sort of a central kind of central place that defined the chivalric code. It emerged in different places at different times in different ways. So what I've tried to do is interpret them on a broader way and say, this applies to not just men, it applies to everybody, and it applies outside the kind of combat locations. You know, what does fidelity, what does faithfulness mean? What does bravery mean in a business context? What does wisdom mean in a business context? And all of these things obviously been interpreted in different ways by different people. I found some bits missing as well, which might amuse you. For example, in the Holy Roman Empire, the area that's now Germany and sort of northern Europe, the concept of humility in knights is not really talked about very much, which I find fascinating. Whereas humility in Frankish areas and England was considered to be a knightly virtue, whereas humility in the German and Northern European areas was not. And I don't know why. Just seems to be the way it developed over time. And also a lot of people failed as well. People failed to be chivalric all the time. And I think that's what we need to be aware of. So we can't be perfect. We shouldn't try to be perfect. We should try to do the best we can in the circumstances.
Exactly. It's a process, you know. Every day you try to improve 1%, you know, and it's a journey. Yeah, we will never reach this end goal. And
yeah, well, I think that's also the story of the King Arthur's knights and searching for the Holy Grail, and pretty much all of them never find it. I think one knight, Percival, finds it but can't get hold of it. He sees it. He sees the Holy Grail, and the principle really is it's the journey. The journey is the thing, the only thing we can control. The end game. Well, sadly, we all know what the end game for all of us is. You know, we'll pass on our knowledge, hopefully, to other people, and then off we go. But it's what we leave behind. It's what we've done on that journey. And I've tried to live my life in a way that has a positive impact on people as much as I can, and also that I enjoy as well. I'm not a Puritan, you know. I like a good glass of wine sometimes, or mead. Actually, I'm really into mead at the moment. Really like that. You know, and I probably fail sometimes to meet the ideal chivalric goals, but I'm still trying. The trying is the thing.
So there's a lot of learning we can take from the past, yeah, medieval times, and writing your book, coming up with this 12 chapters. What do you think are the most important learnings for people in today's age?
I personally, in business in particular, I think bravery is really important. Bravery and honesty. Now,
I love honesty.
Yeah, honesty doesn't mean you have to tell everybody everything. It means you're honest to yourself. Now, business is sometimes likened to war, and it can be a battle. You know, you could be trying to win more customers, more clients. You could be trying to get market share. Fine, yeah, that is battle. Not battle with swords and cavalry and knights in armor. But it is a form of battle, sure. Therefore, you need your strategies, and you might need to plan, and you might need to react to circumstances that you didn't expect. I think that's really important. But I think honesty to yourself and perhaps to the market. So I would say bravery in business is really important, but you've got to couple that with honesty. You've got lots of responsibilities if you're in a leadership position. You've got multiple facets to your levels of responsibility. And I know people have got to be responsible to shareholders because they own your company, but you've also got responsibility to your staff. You've got responsibility to your customers. And I think honesty to customers is really important as well.
With Mario M. Martinez Jr., I had an interesting episode about AI, about the evolution of AI and its impact on business. He shared insights on how AI has changed the way businesses operate, from customer engagement, productivity tools, data analysis, to sales and marketing strategies. We talked about the opportunities of human-assisted AI, which is the combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence to achieve optimal results. Looking back at your journey as an entrepreneur, I mean, you've been in business for quite a while. How would you rate the current time we are in terms of speed of change, agility, also uncertainty? I mean, when I look back almost 30 years I'm in business, I mean, the times you live in at the moment are just crazy, you know. There's only one word I can use, the speed of change. And as we discussed in the beginning, every week something new comes out. What's your view?
My view is, I think in my 26 years of being in sales, marketing, and executive leadership, this is no doubt by far the hardest time that I've ever had inside of business. And I talk about that because I think it's important and relevant, because a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs, they're struggling, and they're struggling to be able to find either product market fit or growth, or people to have money. We work with some of the largest companies, and money is tight. Money is very, very tight. Even on an individual level, right? We're fundraising, and on an individual level, it's very difficult for some individuals to be able to even, part ways as a C-suite with 5-10 grand, to be able to invest into a startup. So I think that one of the hardest, I think we have to acknowledge that it's tough out there for a lot of business owners, and the market and the conditions are not making it easier to accelerate growth. And we do need something at a more global level to be able to accelerate growth. And that's way above my pay grade in terms of being able to make that happen. So I think the first thing is acknowledgement. It's tough out there for individuals. And then the second thing is you got to get back down to what worked, and stick to those 2 or 3 things at most. And I think the problem that we have is right now entrepreneurs are trying everything possible under the sun. Everything possible to throw just anything at the wall to see what sticks. And to some degree, that's understandable, because you're trying to see, is there a channel that's going to take off and accelerate and grow? And to be honest, I mean, that might happen, but it's probably for the small percentage of companies that one specific channel just like accelerates and grows like crazy. Rather, I think what we need to go back to is really remaining focused on what channel worked in the past, and how do I leverage that channel to accelerate and grow, even if it means going back to our customers to asking for a referral. And so that is probably the big element there, is stick to a focused environment. And that's so hard if you are a real entrepreneur and a business owner. We've got ADD up the wazoo, and we read something and we're like, "Ooh, that's a great idea. I should try that."
The shiny object syndrome. No,
exactly. It's very, very hard. But I think that's what we need to start focusing in on, is being laser focused on the mission at hand, and making sure that we grow and develop the platform, the system, the tool, etc. In that particular regard, and take it off to go from there.
With Manoush Agarwal, I talked about his journey from a factory worker to an AI expert. He talked about how he overcame poverty, discrimination, lack of education, to pursue his passion for technology, and how he became a successful AI professional and entrepreneur. And we talked a lot about the power and potential of AI in transforming businesses and lives, and the challenges and opportunities of AI development and implementation. Talking about AI, how do you see, there's so much happened in the last half year, at least for people who are outside of the industry, until, for most of us, until November last year, we knew there's AI. AI is helping, for example, working in supporting people, changing the way social media works and so on. But the real impact is seen now by release of ChatGPT, of course. Yeah? And the last half year, there's been a tremendous development. Breathtaking. It's hard to keep up, with new stuff every day. How do you see this industry developing, and what are the major trends you foresee, especially for business, because our listeners are CEOs and executives of businesses?
So one thing I will start by saying is, AI, as you said, AI has been around for a long time. So in fact, AI has been around since 70s, 80s. And it has been named, it has been referred to by different names: data analytics, data science, all these different terminologies have been associated with AI. And people who actually realize the power of AI, the value of AI, they are now the richest people in the world. So Jeff Bezos, Amazon is an AI company. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook is an AI company. Elon Musk, Tesla is an actually AI company, not a car company. And SpaceX, AI is used heavily in all these large companies. And the reason is because AI can find the patterns that is not visible to us as a human mind. So in November, what happened was all these people were making a lot of money and became rich. But in November, OpenAI released AI to everyone. So now everyone can start using it, utilizing the power of AI in their business. And how can you use it in your business? So let's say you're running a small business, medium-sized business, large business, whatever it is. We all know that business is all about people, right? So let's say you are able to hire an employee tomorrow who has passed the legal bar exam, who has passed a medical exam, who has an MBA, who has a PhD in history, who has a PhD in politics, and on and on and on. He or she has all this knowledge, and he or she is available to answer any of your questions 24/7, never takes a break, never goes on sick leave. Imagine if you were able to hire that kind of employee, what will that do for your business, right? And now you can say, okay, I can get all the advice, all the strategies, all the execution tactics from this very knowledgeable person. But now let me ask you, let's say if you have 100 employees in your company, what if you can hire the same employee as an assistant to each of your 100 employees? How will that transform your business, right? So the idea is not, as a lot of people, business owners, and even people who are doing a job, they are scared, AI is going to take away my job. But in fact, what AI will do is help you become more productive and enjoy your job much more. Because with every job comes all this mundane administrative stuff that we don't like doing. That will be offloaded to AI, and you can focus on what is more important. So any challenge a business owner is facing can now be solved with the help of AI. In fact, within 5 years, if you're not using AI, most likely you will be out of business.
In my episode with Al Ware, the CEO of VoxBox, we talked about the future of virtual reality and the metaverse. Al shared his vision of a future where VR headsets are as simple as glasses, and the metaverse becomes a seamless extension of our reality. He also discussed the challenges and opportunities that this emerging technology presents for various industries and sectors. Hey Al, can you explain how this works technically? In the past, we had to use all these heavy headsets, which are a bit clunky. But how does it now work nowadays? And what is the technology space around the metaverse and this visual experiences? How can people practically use it?
Yeah, so, you're right. Like back in the day, the headsets were clunky. And now we have where things are so much easier where people could just click on a link and enter directly into the space. They're not having to go through loopholes of having to sign in, or trying to figure out how do I enter. And also too, there are platforms where a lot of people don't know about these different platforms that they can enter into to where they can experience these digital experiences. So I think over time, it's just going to take, it's going to take patience for people to know like what's coming down the pipeline as far as like, where do you experience these virtual worlds, and how do you enter? Because a lot of people think, like you mentioned, like it's basically through VR headsets, which, to be honest, they are clunky right now, but they are improving on it as well.
We also host our show in a metaverse exhibition hall, which is a platform for primarily businesses having an exhibition hall, like in a normal convention center. We have a stage there, and every week we will broadcast this show. This is another use case. We talked about military, so maybe you could explain a little bit more in detail. How does the military use your experience platform?
So as of right now, the military, they are using, combat situational awareness. They're practicing, when you're taking fire from different positions, how do you combat that situation? Or what do you do if you have, one of your soldiers laying on the ground? Like, how do you assist in helping him and aiding him without, harming yourself or him? So, and then there are like the small details of things where, imagine there are bombs planted in the ground, and, how do you detect those bombs that are in the ground? How do you know that it's in the ground? So they are focusing heavily on the small details of how to be aware of your surroundings. And also too, like, because we know, practice, it will make you more efficient. So, they're trying to build, a lot of these soldiers in a way where it's going to help them prepare for battle.
So we can imagine a lot of different use cases for this type of technology coming up in the next couple of months, probably. Yeah.
Also, too, if you think about it, imagine Google Maps, but the military has it. And, imagine they have a pinpoint targeted area that they're trying to assist, and they want to see what the target range for a missile is. So what's the range in meters, or what is the distance from point A to point B, and looking on this immersive map. But not only looking at the map, but imagine you're able to click, and now you're able to enter into the map, and now you could walk around and you could look at different points of the building. You could see, like, what's on one side of the alleyway, or the street. So, these things are going, as technology advances as well as hardware, everything we do is going to advance as well.
With Jamison Rhodes, the founder and CEO of Nearly Human AI, I talked about the future of AI, where Jamison shared his vision of AI as a transition, not a takeover, because he believes that AI can enhance human capabilities and creativity rather than replace them. We talked about responsible AI practices, where he explains the importance of ethical and transparent AI implementation, especially in large corporate settings. And we talked about the impact of AI on society, where he reflected on the potential implications of AI on human society and the culture. Jamison emphasized the need to safeguard human values and diversify in the age of automation. Now let's dive a bit deeper into where do we see real use cases for AI for corporates implementing LLM, and how does such a project look like?
From a corporate perspective, where we're really seeing the client demand right now with large corporates, they're looking for implementations within their organization that are first off, like, secure, right? There's a huge concern about, this goes into the responsible AI side of things, but the security of their information. Obviously, over the last year, as OpenAI has fielded their technology, they've changed their usage agreements from something that was originally consuming a lot of information to something that's more restrictive now. But there is a lot of concern on the OpenAI side of things with regard to, like, what happens to the data. So companies are very interested now in implementing their own internal LLMs, and the use cases around those are actually largely focused. While they differ, the common thread is the ability to quickly access and share information, like accurate business-specific information around a given context that a question needs to be answered. And we look at it, we have a couple of use cases. The ability to answer policy and procedure questions is something that we're seeing in high demand in the banking, and actually we're moving into the franchising industry as well, because there's a lot of policy and procedure that goes into implementing a franchise, for example. And so having that information available much more quickly than it used to be is super helpful in terms of, like, the velocity that these organizations have in terms of, like, bringing policy changes to bear or ensuring quality or consistency within a franchise organization, for example. And then on the other side of things, in terms of, like, this information velocity, we're also seeing large companies use this as a way to expedite their engineering processes and manage their corporate knowledge in a way that's much faster and more efficient than, the dreaded, SharePoint sprawl that, companies typically have, or the complex engineering documentation around given products or software, where there's just a ton of fractured documents that have bits and pieces of information that need to come together in a way that people can get to that data more quickly and more efficiently. So that's really, like, that's where we're at in terms of, like, the immediate value proposition in the large enterprise.
I'm just also thinking about, I worked for corporates most of my life. Yeah, I run consulting company. We're doing lots of implementation projects. They need a lot of knowledge, specific domain knowledge. And if you imagine you take all this domain knowledge and put this into an LLM, then it should be quite easy for someone who's not so experienced in this field to execute certain tasks, to understand the logic behind decisions and to save money for the organization. They don't have to hire these expensive consultants because, hey, the knowledge is available in text form. Or even if you continue thinking the thought, you have all this institutional knowledge in organizations. Organizations existing for decades. And especially when you talk about banks, they have all their knowledge documented, tons of Word documents, tons of Excel spreadsheets, and which is hard to analyze and hard to search for something. But if you have such a large language model, a personal one, a private one within your organization, and hey, you can analyze all this content, look for patterns, create standard operating procedures, for example, and train new staff, and the world is your oyster, I spoke with Nathan Johnson, and he's the CEO of Stratus Advanced Technologies, a company that helps businesses leverage data and AI. We talked about the challenges and opportunities in the data space and how clean and structured data is the key to unlocking the full potential of AI. We talked about the impact of AI on various industries and sectors, such as manufacturing, education, and coaching. And we talked about financial benefits of investing in AI development for organizations.
I listened to a presentation a while back, and I can't remember the exact person presenting it, but they sort of explained how technology advances. And I think it was around the iPhone 10, the guy explained if they had tried to build the iPhone in, I believe it was the 50s or 60s, like if they tried to build one iPhone, just to literally build the same compute as one iPhone, it was like something like 67 football fields. There wouldn't be enough electricity in the United States, and it would bankrupt the country to build one iPhone. But as time went on, now 2010, 15, that iPhone is now accessible to everyone at a low cost. AI is sort of going through the same transition. It's very, very expensive today to engage with things like ChatGPT is also a humongous model. It's a general language model. The smaller models can be trained faster, quicker, and they can provide a lot more value. I think the thing that a lot of people are sort of waiting for or looking for is that we have sort of said, like, there's something magical here. And it really hasn't hit that Instagram, I think it's Instagram or Snapchat. It's either Instagram or Snapchat, the one that sent everything sort of flying. So cameras on phones have been around for like a long, long time. And then the iPhone came out. And the reason the iPhone was significant is because it had a much better software platform. And I believe it was either Snapchat or Instagram. The audience can figure out which one it is. But one of those sent the use of the camera and the smartphone to the moon. It all of a sudden changed everyone's thoughts of what that camera thing was. Because I remember when I got my first, you snap it open, takes terrible pictures. And I'm like, well, this is useful. And, I thought to myself, I could take a picture of a book cover or, just random odds and ends. But it wasn't until sort of like the social media, share what you're doing, it exploded. And I think that's what we're waiting for in AI is sort of that thing where people are like, oh, that's the thing. Then all of a sudden the technology can get hyper tailored around that and we can figure out more cost-effective ways to do things. Where right now it's sort of like we have ChatGPT and it's being tested from every angle under the sun. And therefore it has to be quite big and resilient and it needs to have lots of power to sort of prove its point. But it's not the Instagram/Snapchat of that technology, right? That's going to send it sort of flying. And this is, I'm not a shot across the bow at all the other people that made apps that made things huge, like, WhatsApp and other applications that really launched the modern smartphone forward. It's that it's tons of neat little cases for AI. I saw one where people, they take a picture of you and then they put you in a business suit or put you in a professional background. And so you'd pay $30 and you'd get a whole photo shoot of you in really professional environments. And they made a business out of that. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But that's small. It's great yeah, it's a niche thing. It's not something, everyone's running to grab. So I think what we're waiting for is that thing to appear. And then you'll see the costs shift drastically because you'll see mass optimization because they'll say like, oh, this is the path. Or it's going to be the next evolution of what is being used for generating the artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of technology right now where you can run large language models like all the way down to like your personal computer. So they are getting it figured out, but it's again, an emerging technology. So I think we're waiting on that what do you call it? The unicorn, the actual unicorn idea.
The killer app.
The killer app, yeah, for sure.
With Jonathan Green, I had an interesting discussion about ChatGPT. He revealed his vision for the future of ChatGPT and conversational AI, as well as his personal journey as an entrepreneur and leader. He gave some advice for aspiring AI innovators and entrepreneurs, such as finding a problem worth solving, building a team, and learning from failures.
I think this is what OpenAI wants, is to really push the tool and see what can happen. So it's more powerful than you know, but that's why a new user sees that page and is very overwhelmed and they think this learning curve is very steep.
Or they don't really see the use case. No, they don't see the business case. We all hear about, you can write a blog post, you can create a picture. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, there's so much,
Most of what people talk about, and this is why I started carving out my niche in the AI world, most people talk about either really hypey stuff, like, oh, this is the coolest new thing, look at this crazy image I generated, and it's interesting but not useful. But it's very interesting. Every time I see, even today, a bunch of new videos came across my feed because a new AI tool they updated to a new level, and they're like, oh, look at these videos we can make. And I was like, it's a series of 3-second clips, right? And it's like, that's not that great. Okay, because there's no 3-second movies, right? Commercials are not even 3 seconds long. Like you need 30 seconds. It's 1/10 of a commercial. And it's not, so to me, that's not useful yet. Maybe in 6 months, maybe in 3 months, but probably 6 to 12 months, it'll be useful, but not there yet. So I don't really like to talk about that. The other end of the spectrum is really technical. Here's how to set up open AI bots. Here's how to set up auto GPTs on your computer. Here's how to get 2 AIs to talk to each other locally on your computer. Here's how to install an open source AI that leverages BitTorrent, so pieces of the AI are on different computers. So that's really cool, but super technical, right? Like every single day, Hugging Face has a new white paper they post. And what that does is push people away because they go, I'll never figure that out. That's too overwhelming. So you have these 2 ends of the spectrum. One attracts people, but it's not useful. And one repels people, but it is useful, but it's overwhelming. So the middle, which I try to boil down the middle of the lane, is practical and useful, and that's it. Like I shot my AI news of the week, and I only had 3 things I talked about this week. I was like, there's only 3 things that happened this week that are actually useful for someone who wants to use it for their business. And the problem is, most people think AI can just do blog posting, which is not exciting. There's not that many people that are actually making a living blogging and don't want to write the content themselves, right? That's a very small subsegment. And most businesses are like, I can already hire someone to write a blog post. And that's the problem, is that the way, when you say ChatGPT, what can you do? All the things it says are like the worst things it can do because they're the most common things that people ask for. What it's really great at is specific use cases. OpenAI is a general genius, right? It's a jack of all trades. But when you combine it with your specialist expertise, that's when combined, you become a superhero. That's really where the magic happens. And once people see that, like when people say, how long do you think it takes to learn ChatGPT? Most people think 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. And that's because if I said to you, how long does it take to learn Python? How long does it take to learn Photoshop? Those do take a really long time, right? We're so used to tools that take forever to learn. For me, when I'm teaching someone or talking to someone, I'm like, if you sit down and say, I'm going to give 1 work day to AI, I'm going to spend 8 hours learning ChatGPT. By the end of the day, you'll be a top 1% user. Because it's such a short, the learning curve is a lie. Yes. It's not actually hard. Once you have 1 prompt that works and you go, this is why this prompt works, you can do almost anything. Because you go, I see the language. You don't really have to learn how to code because you don't have to learn any special secret phrases. You just have to go, this is the language. This is the structure of a prompt. And you can be conversational. Once you know that, it becomes very easy, but there's no one saying that. Like, everyone's saying things like you have to go prompt engineer, and it's not really true. Like, I'm definitely on the spectrum of prompt engineers. I'm a pretty advanced prompter, but most of the time I don't bother getting sophisticated with my prompts. I'm like, oh, I'll just kind of say what I want. I won't perfect the language, and it's fine.
With Friederike Riedelbacher, the CEO of Symbolon AG, I talked about coaching. Coaching is not just about solving problems. It's about unlocking a person's potential. Friederike and her team, they developed a coaching bot, an AI-based coaching solution, which is a game changer because it makes coaching accessible and more effective for everybody in an organization.
So what we see is that with the AI coaching, we can really offer coaching to more people, because in this state right now, coaching is for privileged people. So it's for management, it's for the upper supervisors, the upper leaders. So with the AI coaching, we can offer a very cost-effective system. And what I think is that this is the chance to make coaching mainstream. So to really say, okay, it's a highly effective tool. We have a lot of research that shows coaching has effects: less sick days, more your loyalty, higher satisfaction. So we have such good effects from coaching. But at this point, it's not that everybody in the company gets coaching. Mostly it's only a very small part that gets access to it. So with this AI coaching formats, we have the opportunity to really offer this opportunity to everyone who chooses to do it. And it's really the idea. I mean, we have the global development goals, and we have lifelong learning as one of our goals. And the other one that we also support is a productive workplace. So we have a tool now that you can really use on a regular basis that supports us there. And what I wanted to, because this came to my mind earlier when you said it's a full coaching. So that's also different. I mean, a lot of people are working on coaching bots, and that's wonderful because there's a lot of also need and opportunity. And what we see with our coaching compared to other AI coaching is often that you have, I call it flash coaching. So you have minimal interactions. So people write like to a mentor or to a friend, okay, I have this presentation, I'm nervous, what should I do? And then there's a few force back, and then the person breathes out and it's fine. And these interactions, most of the time, are less than 10 minutes. And then people, they lose their interest. So, and for ours, it's very different because the average is 55 minutes that we have about from our experiences. But some people also take 2 hours for their coaching. So because we have structured the process with this painting and the different steps, we achieve to make it an experience that you really say, okay, I'm going in now. I'm going into this thing and I'm working to find my solution. And that's very different than the flash AI coachings that are out there, because they are like an immediate support, like a best friend or somebody giving good advice. So that's really also a big difference. Often people think when they hear AI tools that you kind of hand over your thinking to the AI. You just write them, okay, make me this blog article or calculate this and that, write me the code or so, and they give orders like that. And so for us, it's the opposite. So we are using the system to accelerate and intensify learning. So we want the coachee to think and the AI to support the thinking. So it's a different logic. It's the other way around. But the point is, that's the beauty of the new technology, that it has so many opportunities. And this is what I'm excited about, and what I would hope that more people get excited and start trying and get their hands into it, to find out, okay, how can I use this to get the best version of myself?
Thank you so much for listening to this episode, the recap of 2023. If you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please go to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our show. It means the world to me. I had a blast interviewing these fantastic personalities in 2023, and I'm looking forward to many more interesting conversations next year. Have a fantastic new year. All the best, happiness and health. Stay tuned and keep listening to the High Performance CEO Show. Thank you.